What's up, Internet? This is Corey and Nicholas and Caitlin and John Doe from the Bowtie Crew, except John Doe is not, but he's our friend. Today we're going to do something a little different. We usually do Let's Plays, but Arkham Origins came out, Batman Arkham Origins, and we liked it a little too much to do a Let's Play, because we didn't want to just goof off. Nick and I are both super into Batman, so we thought we'd give it this a playthrough first, and then do a little discussion/review video.
I'm not wearing hockey pads!
He's not wearing hockey pads. So, this is actually the first game, as you probably know if you're watching this. Maybe you don't. It's the first of the Arkham games not done by Rocksteady, who did the first two.
This is actually Bebop.
Oh, I didn't even know
It's
that.
not Bebop. It's actually Warner Brothers Montreal, which is a relatively new studio. I think they made one game before this, which was the Arkham City port for Wii U.
Oh.
Honestly, it's a really good job. It's just a goddamn shame that there were a couple glitches here now. Kind of just messed things up ever so slightly, but yeah, but for the most part, it's a damn good game. About halfway through, I just got the feeling, and Caitlin was with me when I played this part, because this part was insane. There's a specific scene on a rooftop, and ever since that part, this game just blew me away.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it all ended, like,
It really
well.
It really stepped its game up really well.
So what are like some of the glitches that you said that there was?
So-
there's, like, a lot.
Okay, basically once the game flat out froze, I was in the middle of a fight and then just stopped, and you essentially have to turn off your PS3, turn it back on. A lot of lag.
There's just, like, a general lack of, like the
Polish.
last two games were, like, perfect, didn't have any problems. This one's, like, a less experienced developer, I guess.
For the most part, it's really well done, but there's a few things every now and then which you can tell it could have done a little better with maybe a couple more months of polish.
Some of the graphics aren't, I mean, like, in spots, I'm like, just don't go anywhere you're not supposed to. I went under a bridge once, and it was, like, a Nintendo 64 game.
Yeah.
Actually?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
a little bit.
The game's map is essentially double, which is good, and the new city looks awesome. I like it a lot. But I think you were telling me, Nick, which I agree with, is that a lot of the new city, there's areas you can't grapple to. And something I also wanted to say in regards to the map size is that a good chunk of that size is dedicated to this goddamn bridge,
Yeah, it's really long.
which is kind of
You're gonna be going
bullshit.
back and forth across it a lot.
You can fast travel, which is cool. They added that. It's really cool. But this bridge, they went on about double the size, but it kind of sucks when half of that size is
It's just a
nothingness.
straight line.
Yeah.
Like, the new stuff they added just feels less memorable.
To an the city or the gameplay?
Yeah, the city.
Yeah, I agree to an extent.
The city feels a little less lively. Like, it still feels like Arkham City with the criminals and stuff running around.
Yeah.
But at least that made sense before, and now
No one's
there's
around.
no civilians. And I know they explained that in the story with, like,
There's a lockdown.
there's a lockdown and it's a snowstorm, but it still kind of sucks.
Yeah. for
Like,
sure.
they didn't have to do that. Like, just because they explain it in a story doesn't mean they couldn't have done it.
Yeah, for sure. Something I like is these criminal in progress missions too, though. I really like these because I don't know. How did you feel about these?
They're okay. I think it's just like another version of what was in the last game, the crime in progress.
I like the fact that it feels to me like what a normal night for Batman would be. Like he gets a little distress signal and then fights a couple mobsters trying to jump somebody or something, which is cool because it's a little more of the whole thing with immersion into like the Batman lore. Then every night's not this big massive explosion.
Also, if we're still talking about the city, I love the Christmas setting.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a cool touch. It takes
I don't
the Batman
know-
takes place on Christmas Eve, which is weird given it came out in October, but it's just like something about Batman and Christmas fits
Yeah,
together
I don't
so
know
well.
what about it. Those two things, like,
Because they're so, like, Batman's such a dark, lonely, sad guy, and it's the opposite of Christmas, so it works in, like, a great melancholy kind of way.
Just give him like a Santa hat.
music's also really great.
Yeah, the soundtrack.
The, like,
is really great.
Christmas-inspired / Batman soundtrack, like,
Yeah.
it's really great.
Is it actually like? What do you mean? Like there's like bells?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
bells in the soundtrack, like,
Yeah.
the decorations and stuff around the town, it feels
Yeah.
pretty cool.
They did enough to, like, make the actual Arkham City section different enough from the old game that it doesn't just feel like they completely rehashed it.
It feels like Christmas.
Yeah, and in terms of things that I love, because we were talking about things I hate mostly, but, or not hate, but I had a little beef with, the story is, I think, probably the best in this game.
It's a lot more cinematic, and, like, the story feels more, like, focused, I think. I like it because it's not just a rehash of, like, Batman's origin, it's, like, a little bit after.
Yeah, it takes place 2 years after.
And it's kind of at, like between year one and later years, where at first he starts off with fighting mobsters and gang guys and just normal criminals, and now, like, supervillains start coming in,
Yeah, so in terms of the story, this is his first time encountering people like massive villains like the Joker. It's something that's really cool to see because it's the first time he's ever encountered somebody of that level.
The origins of these relationships between him and Commissioner Gordon and Alfred and Joker, that's really well done.
It was really well done story. And something else really great is the damn cutscenes. I think you talked about it earlier, but the cutscenes are fantastic in this game.
Yeah, I would watch an animated movie by whatever team did those cutscenes. They're really great.
And something else that's I don't know if people agree, but I think it's that the peak in this game is the goddamn boss fights.
I like some of them. I don't know. I think they're getting better with each game.
Particularly Deathstroke.
I thought it was very good looking. At least it was super cinematic.
Yeah,
I mean it's
super cinematic though.
I thought it was a little simple, but I've heard a lot of people having a lot of trouble with it. So maybe I'm just a pro.
Maybe I'm just a king.
Maybe
no
we're
big
just.
deal. But yeah, and like the section on the rooftop has a really immersive, I guess,
You really love
boss battle. I love that rooftop. It was amazing. Everything just picked up from there. And also, the story goes in places you never expected to. Like
They take a lot of influences from other Batman stories, but I think it fits together well.
yeah, like although it's 2 years later, it does a lot of year one.
Even dark, like the movies.
Yeah.
The Killing Joke, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool. So,
I thought the voices were good. Like,
oh yeah,
It's new
Troy
voices.
Baker does a really good job.
it's new voices for Batman and Joker, and it took a little while to get used to Batman's new voice because it's definitely different. When I heard Troy Baker, I was like, that's really great. Like, he's doing a Mark Hamill kind of thing, but it's also still its own thing.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay if you played Joker in other games.
Yeah.
And by the end of the game, I was like,
So
I was pretty happy about Batman's voice too. Like, it definitely sounds like a more aggressive, inexperienced Batman, but he's still the goddamn.
Yeah. Something I do love though, if you can see here, is that for the first time in the series, Batman doesn't stand still like a prick. When he's fighting, he usually stands absolutely straight, and now he has this really cool combat stance, which is a small thing that I absolutely love. And for the most part, the combat's the exact same as it was in the old game, with a few touches, but in a nice way. Like, they added a couple new things, like this ninja guy who can counter your counters.
Yeah, I like the martial artist a lot.
Yeah, those are great. I love that.
I hope they keep that in the next.
Yeah, for sure. But it's cool, because whether or not you think it's just like a quick time event or not, it adds so much. It just gets you really into the fight when you go to punch someone, they sort of are able to counter it for once rather than just sitting there taking a beating. The detective scenes in this game are at their best by far.
Yeah,
Caitlin and I were just sitting in here like being goddamn Sherlock Holmes and Watson, just sitting like trying to evaluate what happened. It was awesome.
They're technically like linear. Like, you can't. There's not a lot of freedom in what you're doing. Like, you're just going from point A to B. Like, there's no real detective work, but it looks fucking great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty good anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I hope they keep their rewinding stuff in other games. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So it
didn't have to be too complicated. It was more than what it was before, and it just added to the experience.
yeah. So if I was to conclude, I would just say I'm glad that this company, like, they did, I would say really well. Other than those few little glitches here, now they kept exactly what was good, and at least I feel like everything they added was really well done.
If Rocksteady does still continue to make games, then I'm okay with this developer also taking a turn every once in a while and making like B stories.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't feel like a fully new Arkham game, really. It feels like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood
Yeah, that's
to
really true.
Assassin's Creed 2, but Brotherhood was better. So it's not a bad thing that it's not super unique.
But ultimately, Arkham City had definitely a bigger lasting appeal just for the fact there was so much new added from Asylum, and this really takes a lot from the old game. But I would probably argue that if somebody who hasn't played Arkham City or Origins just played both like back to back, not even knowing which came first, who developed who, they'd probably think Origins was better.
I think it's on par with Asylum. I still like City a little more, but I mean, I also really liked Asylum, so that's a good thing.
Hopefully they patch some things up. I know they just added an update that I just saw when I was starting the game. And ultimately, the question comes down to, does it make you feel like Batman? And the answer is still a goddamn yes.
On Christmas.
Yeah, on Christmas too. If you like City, if you like Asylum, and if these glitches get fixed, it's an absolute buy. But even with them, I still recommend it for sure, because I had a blast, man. I also,
Yeah, seeing the reviews, I thought, maybe it's not as good, but I was really surprised. I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah, I would give it like. Do you want to do a little score or no?
I don't know.
I'd go for like a 8.3.
I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5.
Damn it.
Bat wings.
So then 8 out of 10, so we at least be on the same scale.
You guys are
No, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5.
Give it out of a 10. You guys gotta go on like.
I'm not wearing hockey pads!
8.3 out of 10.
4 out of 5.